Welcome to For Real I Do with Brittany Ellis, the unfiltered side of weddings. From planning truths to vendor insights to navigating design, culture, and family dynamics, this is for couples who crave clarity and vendors ready to elevate. Your insider pass with just a little oversharing. Okay, welcome, Soye.
Yes, thank you.
You are my first caterer that I've ever talked to on the podcast.
Oh,
So I've got so many questions.
What a
for you.
privilege. What a privilege. Thank you,
I
Brittany.
have
Thank
so
you.
many questions for you.
Thank you.
So our teams obviously first came together many years ago,
Yes.
working events together. And obviously our relationship has blossomed and evolved over many different projects and things
Right,
like that.
right.
And before we were live, we were talking a little bit about social. Talk to me a little bit about your background and the history of your company and why you don't need social media currently to stay busy.
Well, I started working in premium hotels. I started working in South Florida with the top hotels, the top brand hotels, and from there. I had always this passion to do something of my own. I really wanted. I loved hospitality. I'm undergrad. I did my hospitality as an undergrad, and I really wanted to do something different, something on my own. How it happened was my friends opened up a place up in Melbourne, and they I went to visit them once, and they were pretty busy. And being in the hospitality, I sat the guest, and I just started talking to them, and I made sure that I have great experience. I just went to visit my friend, right? Next week, my friend tells me the guests keep asking, "What is soy? We want soy. We want soy."
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I just wanted to make sure that. So, a long story short, I said, okay, I'm going to do something on my own in the catering, in the restaurants. I started with a small restaurant, expanded into a larger restaurant, and at that time when I was running it, it was the busiest Indian restaurant in South Florida. Yeah, Madras Café was the busiest Indian restaurant in South Florida, and people would say, "You want to open up an Indian restaurant? Go see how they operate it." Then I got into in the catering, and clients would ask me, "Can we do this? Can you do this?" And slowly, I got into small operations, then larger operations. Yeah. In fact, actually, I started with a larger operation, not a small operation. I started with 600 people.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, this was a very
So vintage.
yeah. I was forced into it. Like this very well-known a medical director from a hospital. He had he I guess he interviewed few caterers, and then I had a small place. He came and said, "No, I want you to do my daughter's cater my daughter's wedding, right?" And that's how I started.
Wow. How did you, what was your sort of plan of attack with something like that? Because obviously being successful in restaurant doesn't necessarily translate that you're going to be successful in catering. How did you do that? How do you do that today?
It's once. So our policy is once we take the event, it's a commitment. It's 100% commitment. So we are very, very picky, very, how do you say it? Like very careful in just like the clients. We are also very careful how we choose our clients. We have the freedom to choose the clients that we want to work with. So very, very careful on that. Once we make the commitment, we deliver. We have had instances where there was, bad weathers, and, like literally roadblocks. So another thing about talking about commitment, I have a truck, an empty truck, following our catering truck, just to make sure that nothing goes wrong.
Just in case.
Just in case.
Insurance.
Yeah. Yes. So like that really helps. You understand our level of commitment. No, we don't, and get to the hotels and like really ahead of time, things like that it's very important for us.
Yeah. Well, I would say also, one of the things that often we see with couples and new families, especially that are coming to the Florida market or in a market that they don't reside in, right?
Right,
So they're
right.
coming here, they're trying out the caterers in town. And quite frankly, I'm like, if you want anything in South Florida, like, Soy's your guy for sure.
Yeah.
I think for me, at least from a planner perspective, the reason that I feel really strongly making that recommendation, and I think that couples should consider this when they're choosing planner or caterers, is you show up with like a very robust team.
Right, right.
And a lot of times I've worked with caterers that it's like them and like, like an assistant.
Yeah, we were doing an event in New Orleans. It was for 1,100 people, and we almost the entire flight was us, our team. I went with a team of 81 people.
Wow.
81 people.
So
So we had everything ordered through a large distributor to the hotel, and that's it. Another big subject in itself. And I flew in with 81 people, and we prepared everything there. Everything was done right on. So all the hotels love us because we go with purpose. We go there with a team and a backup team, always. Yes, we do.
what would you say to couples? Because sometimes what they're doing with these properties is they're paying essentially a fee to
Right.
bring in their own caterer.
Right.
So the couples are being hit with an outside catering fee or a service fee.
Right.
And then they obviously have the cost of their caterer that they're bringing in.
Right.
Why do you bring a team with you if essentially the venue
Well,
provides you with
you see,
one?
Brittany, I've been doing this quite some time, as you know, right? A decade back, there wasn't too many small restaurants that would do what I do. So, since I worked in all these large hotels and premier hotels, I know exactly in detail how the operation should be. So I demand, and I sit down. That's why if you see me many times that I said I want to have a meeting before the event, if you notice, right? Recently they've been busy, and they say, and it's quite busy, but it's important. So in order for you to have this event, anything going smooth, that coordination is so critical. Now, see, another thing about is when, for us, we all know, like, when for the families, right, for a wedding, it's a large investment, and it's one of the most important day in their life. And we take that very seriously. Like, that commitment is 100%, right? So given that, now going back to the hotels, right? When you sign up with a hotel, one very, very important thing that the client and the planners should find out. See, when they are doing an in-house event, they have a full banquet team. They have a banquet managers, F&B directors sometimes on site, at least 2 or 3 captains, and all the staffing. So that's one most important thing the planner and the client should ask. Tell us about your plan, your F&B plan. What do you have? What are you exactly providing? And very, very few people understand this. So that's one thing that every planner and every client should find out, because that ensures like a perfect an executed event. So that is very critical. So sometimes that is not there, and so we always bring extra staff, extra equipments, everything that is needed to make sure that it is a very smooth event. Because our commitment is to the families. Our number one commitment is to the families, always, always, always. That's the reason why, that's probably the reason why, my like our like the brides, the grooms, the families are our biggest fans, right? So we don't. I have zero social media, zero.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yet we keep very busy, right? Fortunately have the option to choose the events that we want to take on. That's because our commitment to our brides, the grooms, the families, it's total.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so for that reason, we always bring the extra staffing, the extra equipments, whatever is necessary. But so please, one thing that everyone should, the clients and the caterer should, I mean, the planner should ask is, how is your back-end operation? Who is going to be there? That's very critical. And when that is not there, it's never a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I will tell you that it's a rarity, and we've worked with a wide variety of different catering companies, and it's a rarity to have someone that wants to essentially take ownership of the full result of the product and finding out who is the banquet captain? Can we talk to them in advance? Can we know who's going to be on site for those functions? If you're going to have, obviously with Indian weddings, there's like multiple events going on. So like the banquet captain for the reception may be different from like the Sangeet night. So it's really just making sure you hone in on that. Because I've definitely run into instances before where it's like the assumption was made that the food would be run by the property. Because you're like, oh, you're going to provide me the food runners, you're providing me the staff, right? And then it's like, you get to wedding day and you're like, oh, where are the food runners?
Yes,
And
yes.
it's like little things like that, and it's so
Yeah,
critical.
so we do have good experience with the people who know us, and premium hotels, especially in Miami and South Florida region, some Orlando, some few ones in Orlando as well. I know they know that they're very excited that our team is there, but what I usually do is that I request a meeting with the executive chef, the director of food and beverage, the chief steward, and the event director, the salesperson. So this way, I go meet with them, talk with them, exactly explain, this is what I request, this is what I want, this is what the client wants, this is what the planner has in mind. So we are all on the same page. Any issues, anything that to be filled, we fill it up before. And that works to be a very, that really helps. Yeah.
And I think that segues maybe into one of the questions I had is, when couples are vetting different caterers, what would you say would be maybe like a red flag as to maybe why that may not be the best fit? Because I think sometimes people will go and maybe they'll taste something at their restaurant, they'll be happy with the quality, but there's obviously a very different complexity in terms of being able to execute a multi-day high guest count event. What advice would you have for couples or families to ask caterers?
Yeah, they have to make sure, the clients and the families have to make sure that they have an actual catering have done large events, or have a separate team for the catering, a separate operation for the catering. Yes, we all can do, most of the restaurants, they can do 5 people food, 50 people food, but it's very different when you have your, average meals we serve, it's around average 1,200 meals a day. Say 400 people, you're serving breakfast, 400 people lunch, 400 people dinner. It's just 1,200 meals a day we are. And it's complex, right? In today, it's not just Indian food and a stew kind of operation. It's much more complex, for that, there is no comparison. Like a restaurant operation and catering is, I don't know, it's very, very different.
Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes there's this disillusion in the industry where caterers who ultimately really are not caterers, are giving that sense of illusion to the family that they can handle it.
Yes.
And I think it's one of those things, to what Soy's saying, is like asking them questions in terms of how large is your team that's coming on site for the event contractually. That should also be in there. It should be like very clear. You know, one of the things, Soy, was also different about your team, and I think just something that couples should consider is like the service of the actual food at the function.
Right.
So there's obviously buffet,
Right.
there's family style, there's
Yeah.
stations, there's, you know, what role does your team really play in the different like meal styles that are provided?
Yeah. So that's another big question in itself. So gone are the days of the buffet. It's gone.
It's still happening. I still,
It's happening, but those buffets are gone.
okay.
It's very. Of course, I want it. I am very careful, and our team is very careful to take care of the grandmas and the grandpas. It's so we will have those staples, one or two, three staples. We will always have for them. But so a decade ago, the trend was, you know, an unending buffet, right? A buffet that has no end. That was considered a premium event. Maybe I would say even 15 years back. But the trend has changed so much, and now it's all about live stations. So some of our live stations are a la minute. It's provided a la minute. So it's very personal. You get what you want. She gets what he wants. She gets what he or she wants, right? And how can you do that for 600 people at the same time? Now you can see why I have a team
Right.
that big. Remember, I had sent you a shot of one time.
Yeah.
Like I have like 7 people staying in one station.
Yes.
That's because I'm providing a la minute experience.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. So those have taken over. Those have
Yeah.
taken over. So now it is live stations. So another thing is now a lot of is sit down dinner. Sit down dinner has taken has been on the climb, and I love it. I love it because you see at the Sangeet or haldi and things like that, people like to walk around, go around, but at the wedding reception, the best way to I'm a big proponent of that would be like give them an amazing cocktail hour experience. Live station, this butler pass, all great experience. Dinner, a sit down experience. So it's less commotion in the ballroom, less, and the guest will really get to enjoy the experience in the ballroom. So and we have created some of these dishes in such way that the plated experience is a great experience. Yeah. So that is really trending now.
Yeah.
A plated experience.
Yeah.
People really love that.
I
so,
love a
so
plated
yeah,
experience.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, let me tell you that it's one of the best thing. And yeah, yes, it requires a really highly talented team and a ton of expertise on this. But we have executed many of that, and is very successful. Yes.
Would you say that there are certain venues, just I mean, at this point, you probably have worked at like every property.
Every
in
property,
this
yes,
area.
yes.
I mean, are there certain venues that are just like not capable of doing a plated meal that you'd be like, I wouldn't do a plated meal there? Like, how are you when you're like?
How much time you have? It's
Yes.
the problem.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk, right? So don't, only first talk to me, and I'll tell you whether they're able to handle a plated dinner experience. So there's only few properties that can really do plated experience. Don't go to these hotels and say, and they all want the sales. We all want the sales. I guess but don't. It's you got to understand. Most of them can't deliver it. Most of them can't deliver. It's only few hotels can deliver it. Few properties can deliver it. It's important to so you should be asking the caterer, and you should be asking the hotel itself to the wedding planner. Can this hotel handle a food sit down plated experience, and the answer has to be, and then you should connect with the caterer to see, have you done something similar in a similar property, in a same brand property? How was the experience? Things like that is very critical. So don't go and try to do this in all the places. No.
Yeah, and I think that, that's one of the questions I had for you is also like just menu build and creation.
Oh, menu, as like I told you. So, okay. Now, some of them will. I don't know where they are getting this. The um, the uh, the dad or the mom would send me a menu, and would send me, "Can you price it?" And they'll send me a menu, and they'll say, "Can you price this?" And I'm like, okay. So it's like essentially like you're going to say, for example, you're going to a wealth manager, and then you say, you're paying him a fee, but you're telling him, pick this stock, do this, do this, do this, do this, and you're still paying him. What's the point, right? You're paying that person to manage the strategy, your financial strategy for you, right? But instead, you're telling them exactly what to do. So you're coming to me, I'm the expert on this. My team is the expert on this, right? So you create the menu, and 90% of the time, that menu, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So we use that menu so we tell the clients, you send us the menu, send us your preference, send what you like, right? And tell us the must-haves you want to have, and then we build on that. We build on that. Say this will work. This will work. We are the experts, right? You're paying us. You're trusting us to do this. This is an important, most important day for many of the families in their lifetime. So it is. So we take it very, we take it in that sense, and we put. So people ask, send us the menu. Send us the menu. I don't know. We don't do that. So we have a team of like 5 experts, the chefs. We sit together, we plan, we say, okay, will this work? This is what they want. And like I have, I had one family told me they want, the chaat station, the pani puri, and we want the way they have in Bombay that one. So I sent 2 of my staff to that. It's called Elko Marketplace, something like that. So we send them there to experience how that tastes, how the exact taste. So then we recreated that for them. So we take it very deep. I had another family. They wanted from Jaipur. They wanted a dal bati, a churma experience. So and I was traveling to India, and I said, I will fly up there. I want to see exactly how it is. So. So we go to this place, and we also have a team in Bangalore, in India, in Bangalore. We have a team. We have a small team of 7 people working there. So, like, you tell me something that is not common for us, some remote part that we want this. So I had one family asked us for a halwa that is not very common. So I talked to my team. They get the chef. They explain the whole thing to us. They show us how it should be done on FaceTime. We can also fly the chefs in from India if we need to, right? And then they go back. So we go extremes, in making sure the experience is there.
What do you think drives you to have such a immersive experience? Because it's so interesting. Like now, just in the past like year or two, and I'm not hating on my families, but just in the past year or two, like guest experience has been just this buzzword. Whereas I feel like when you have caterers that have been doing that type of extreme work for so long, you've been obviously curating that guest experience throughout your career.
Yes, yeah.
When you have a family that's coming to you, I think that what essentially a lot of couples, because they do it to us too, where they send us sort of like a baseline menu, and they're just trying to figure out what is even a starting range of like cost.
Okay.
Because a big question for a lot of families is, how much is this all gonna work out to be? Would you say, what would you say to couples and families that are trying to figure out financially how much they should invest into their wedding weekend? I know there's so many variables, but it's
Yeah,
like, what
well,
are things that they should think of?
again, so actually I learned this years back in our industry. There is a saying: people will long forget the centerpiece, but they'll never forget the food. Now, and then they will say, the venues are long. The finest venue is spoiled by the bad food experience. So going back to that point of why wouldn't the venues not work the best to make sure the experience is great for the guest? So to answer your question, food, I want to know why. Like the food is the most important, and I want to know why. I have no idea. I have no idea why the food is the most important thing at a wedding. And I have to do more research to find out why, because that seems to be the thing, right? And the guest experience is so much connected with food, right? And I have no idea what is the reason behind it, but so people, if that is the thing, you should have a really good budget for whichever caterer they decided to work with. You got to give them the budget to operate. A lot of the time, what I personally, our catering team, and we do is, when the final menu is set, and if there was some budget constraints for them to do the things that we discussed, we put it in any way. And you have noticed that many times, right? You'll see like, oh, wow, yes, we do that. Because we want, by the time we are very close, I love the bride, I love the groom, I love the families. It's an automatic, I'm addicted to weddings.
Yes, you've been doing them a long time.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. My driving force, is the clients, the brides, the grooms, the families. I love them. I love them.
Yeah, and I think it really obviously shows when you have someone who's as passionate as you are. I think that a lot of times couples and families, I was talking with, Brittany from Petals earlier about like even decor budgets and things like that. And I know that a lot of families want to have more certainty. They want to know like, how much is this going to cost? But I think to what you're sharing is it's sort of like building that menu is also an experience in itself, because you're getting to know the families.
Yes.
Who are the attendees? Like what percentage of them are from here?
Always I ask all those questions. They're like, some of them are like, I just want the pricing. No,
Right.
It's not happening.
Right.
We'll
get there.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
We'll
and,
get there.
and it also might be one of those things, like obviously if you're working with our team or another planner, I'll sometimes come to Soy and say, hey, here's kind of where we need to be in alignment with food. And then again, you're very transparent with me on like, that's probably not going to be sufficient,
Right.
or we may need to revisit this item and here's why. I think that also just encouraging couples to understand that I have like a ton of other information on previous podcasts that talk about more of like dissecting like a per person number. But at least what I'm hearing from you is you don't really want to talk necessarily about numbers to begin with. You really like to just hear from them. What is it that we actually want to create together? What is the menu that we want to create together?
That is the core thing for us. We want to know what experience you're looking for. What are your guests like? At times they tell me, okay, so I'm really I want to explore the idea of plated dinner, right? And then I find out their guests, majority of them are, and I've been doing this quite some time, right? I get to know, right? They are not for an plated experience yet.
Right.
I'm sure the bride, the groom, their immediate families have great experiences, big travel experiences, big premium dining experience, but that may not be the case with majority of their guests. Then I will say, no, I think we should do this. We should have this way. And at times it's kind of, and for them it's like a letdown. Oh, I really wanted this, and So he's telling me,
Right.
so he's telling me this.
Right.
Um, the same thing, like when we go into places like Tuckahoe Mansions or Vizcaya and places like that, right? I tell them it's because the initial investment at the property is small, right? But then I tell them, when you bring in a caterer like us, the the prices really balloon. It really goes up, right? So they are thinking, oh, we don't want to go to a hotel because of the extra this charge, right? But when when everything is combined, the pain, the time, and all the effort they put in, and at the end, a lot of the time, the budget goes above the hotel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
yeah,
It's an evolving,
yeah,
it's just an evolving door.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's never ending. And I tell these families, and most of them, like almost all of them, they get me. I tell them, listen, this is how much it's going to. I have had one bride, I make her cancel. I told her lose the money, forget it. I made her lose the money, and she wrote to me
Yeah.
saying that she said, like, brides are brides are lucky to have you. That's something like that she wrote to me, Yeah, because I made sure, made her move to a hotel. It was not the best time of the year to begin with. And then they were completely out of town. They're from up north, and, it would be a logical nightmare for them to create it. Well, it's, for me personally, for our company, doing an outdoor it bring us larger budget, right? Because we are providing the bar, we are providing everything, right? But I don't look at it that way. I look at the bride, the groom, the families. Those are more important for me.
Almost what makes sense for them in terms of their experience too, because I'm with you. I mean, we have clients that come to us and they say we want to get married off property, meaning not at a hotel, because they want to create something different, which I get, and you have obviously teams out there that can execute that. But Soy, like, just to give context to the families, like, what is it about offsite properties that make them so much more expensive
Okay.
than
Like a true caterer like us, we create a kitchen, USP, United States Public Health approved kitchen. That's what we bring in.
literally situations like when I first started my career where we had straight up caterers that came in would lay a bed sheet in the carport and we'd be chopping onions. Not kidding. That was like 12 years ago.
Ours is, so it's very different, right? Yeah. So from our warehouse, we're creating a five-star kitchen off the property, right? And we have big trailer refrigeration, big trailer freezer, big range, hot boxes, cold boxes, wash sinks, everything set up, every single thing set up. Then we start the operation. So by the time you are down pretty decent amount.
Yeah, because you got to basically build a commercial kitchen space.
Right, we are
at an offsite property.
You're catering for 400 people or 300 people. It doesn't matter, even if it's for 50 people, right? You don't want them to, you don't want them to get sick. You don't want them to have any bad experience. All those things has to be taken care, right? And then the thing about is, you can't have these foods made 10 hours before, 12 hours before, and serve it to them. No, this has to be, the whole idea of this thing is, doing it fresh, doing it good, a memorable, a pleasant experience that lasts a lifetime, right? So that's the goal, right? That is the driving force to, have brides, grooms, calling me 10 years later, telling me, Soy, we want to recreate the whole experience. We're coming with, I have these two little kids who come. We want to come and see you. So they come to my tasting room. We have a whole talk. We have a great experience. Then we, go out somewhere, and So that's because the experience at that time was created to such a memory that lasts a very long time. So it's a very tailored thought out road. And people ask me, send me the menu, send me the pricing. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, it doesn't work. So we have to know what the plans are, what the goals are. And also, sometimes they will say, okay, this is my budget, and I have this long menu. How do you create quality out of it?
Right.
It's not possible.
Right.
Right?
And the person that's quoting you that's willing to do a menu like that, right, for that fee, there's a trade-off to that too.
Of course, there's a
There's a
trade-off.
trade-off to that experience. I mean, it is for anything in our industry because, you know, there's not a lot of people that essentially have like an educational background or a degree in what they're doing. I was a very rare few that actually has like a hospitality degree, which is weird. You know, a lot of people come from like real estate or like all over the place in the hospitality world.
Definitely.
And so it's almost like, you know, your experience becomes essentially your education.
Yes.
And a lot of times when we have caterers or quite frankly restaurants that are willing to take on jobs that they're just quite frankly not ready for, it's a disservice for everybody. How do you bridge with families? Because I know a very old school way of doing things in the past, especially with parents. Now we're planning more with couples.
Right.
It used to be that we were planning a lot more with parents, but now we're planning with couples.
Yeah.
And you know, how do you handle when they're submitting like final guest counts to you? Because a lot of times people will say, you know, they'll give a count of like how many people are coming, but then it will be like 50 more people show up. You know how kind of this is the old school because they're like, Soy's going to give us an overage. How do you sort of figure out the perfect line item of like?
I'm very blunt, you know, all that. Very blunt. I'll tell them, listen. So I had they asked me what do you do this thing so like, you know, sometimes people, acquaintance and, you know, people who have seen me at multiple weddings and events, they would ask me, what's the budget for a wedding like this, right? And I would be telling them the truth, blank out. This is what it is, you know. Sometimes, you know, they're like, I know them for a long time. They wouldn't even talk to me. This comes as a shock to them. Most families don't know. Now, going back to asking you, so I tell them, I charge for everything, just like the way we operate, like we overstaff, right? We overdo. You know, we have a free truck following our truck, right? You know, so you do understand, right? The care that we take at these events, right? You know, so there is no if it's 50 people, it's 50 people and zero extra. Our operation. I'm sure that's not the case, you know. Chalega, no, nothing chalega. You know, it's 50 people, it's 500 people, it's 500 people.
You have to be really honest, and I don't think
I
that's
tell them
happening as much now as it used to.
No, with me, no. Well, you know, like I said, you know, I have the best clients. Very fortunate. Yeah.
Yeah, we do have the best clients.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, not to put you on the spot, but like I always say, working with Brittany's team, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. You know, yeah. We love it. Our team love it. You know, first question my chefs will ask, you know, who is the planner? Who is the planner? You know, because that makes it ease. You know, we are all on the same page. We know you have communicated enough with the property, whether it's an off-site property, on property, hotel, country club, it doesn't matter. And you know, you're always giving us like. You know, I had we catered one of the resort like last year, and I did another event at the resort, and they didn't have the right. I'll give you an example. What happened? Like the planner, and the the ceremony was over like 25 minutes ahead, right? And the cocktail hour supposed to begin at 5:30, and the planner texting me 5 minutes before, telling me, Soy, the event it's 450 people, right? And I have a massive production, like 7 live stations, like 6 or 7 items butler passed. I have a team of like almost 27, 28 people, right? And he's just giving me 5 minutes notice saying that, oh, the guests are coming, they're leaving in 5 minutes. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
You can't do that.
You know, and Brittany's team is like, Zoe, I think the ceremony is in. We are assuming there will be a there will be 3 minutes. They'll be ahead 3 minutes.
I'm like, bride went down the aisle 3 minutes
Right,
late. We have
right,
started the ceremony. Like, 'cause
right,
we're like, we're on course. Like,
right,
where are we with that
right,
program? Because
right,
I'm clear with that priest. And I know sometimes the priests, if
right,
they're the ones that are going to like tell the jokes,
right.
they're going to be running a little later. You have
Exactly.
to be.
Yeah. So, so,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that so that's another big part
yeah.
of it.
I mean, obviously we love working with your team. I think, with couples and families as they're trying to create unique culinary experiences, having someone that essentially can advocate for them is also a big part of it because, these properties are happy to obviously invite you into their space and for you to host at their space. But having someone that's really going to make sure that what they are charging you to provide that service is actually being delivered is, I think, just such a critical thing in the market because, like you said earlier, I think sometimes there are assumptions that they're going to do all of these things for you. And sometimes that just, quite frankly, isn't the case. But having a caterer that sort of can work through those logistics and provide the result, I think is critical.
Another thing about, and I would add another point to it. Yeah, I think in the olden times, the hotels would have one or two caterers as their exclusive caterer, and that's it. Like you and me worked in last one resort in nearby, and then as soon as they finished, they said, the captains, the directors, managers, everyone when I told the GM that we want to make this Madras Catering as the exclusive caterer, no one else. But even if they don't, I mean, at times what happening in is recent days, I don't know, after the pandemic, I think, is like many of this. I don't know, but because we're very busy. We really don't get into but I'm assuming, just an assumption, they're probably getting some restaurateurs in as caterers, like you mentioned before, and they come in, they don't know what the hell they're doing, and they mess up their kitchen, the hotel kitchen, and things like that. And then I have had directors come and tell me, so it was such a disaster, it was such a disaster that, we don't have the time to, focus on that. We're very busy with what we do. But that's one thing that hotels can demand and say, listen, we are very selective in who are we bringing to the property and stick with that so that, the guest experience, the client experience is elevated,
Right.
and work as a really good team. And some of the hotels, when they see us, like, oh, great, we don't have to worry, right?
Right.
So that level of confidence will create a good, collaboration between us and the hotel, and great experience for the.
Yeah, I agree with you because we definitely hear it too. And I think it's difficult. I know many years ago when we were trying to, as obviously a Caucasian woman specializing in Indian weddings,
Yeah.
it was a little unusual.
Yes,
I've been
yes.
here we are 15 years later. But I remember when I was starting the industry, there weren't a lot of venues that would permit outside catering.
yeah.
And I think it was because of either having a single bad experience or
A
something
lot
to
of the
that
time,
end.
and I tell them there isn't one hotel that I haven't been in. Every single largest properties, most premium properties, from Orlando down, from Atlanta. We try to focus on, we do destination weddings, but the larger budget is usually, and more, the client, willing to explore happens in South Florida as opposed to other parts. And I'm sure it happens in LA and New York and stuff, but Miami is a hot destination now, and with the client that we work with, the families that we work with, we understand it's more trending towards upscale experience as opposed to quantity. Yeah, so that's what
I think we're getting back there
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
do feel like there was a little bit of that time in the market where it was just like anybody and everybody. And now I do feel like because they've been burned a couple times,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
now they're being a
So,
little bit more.
and also what happened was with the hotels, because they just get anybody in, and they're like they have got burned many times. So now they're like, no, we don't do this, we don't do this, we don't do. So the collaboration has dwindled quite a bit. Before, that was not the case. There was a full collaboration. 100%. So, and as the pandemic, the boom has kind of slowed down, I guess. Now the market is correcting, and then I think the clients are, the hotels are beginning to realize, they want to keep the premium caterers just like, to represent their property so that, the client experience. At the end of the day, like I said, I don't know why this food is such a biggest part of it. So the whole experience comes down to the food experience.
You're so funny. You're literally a caterer, but you don't know why the food is.
I have no idea.
The food is so important because I feel, at least from my perspective, I'm not a big foodie myself. Like, I'm a very like grilled chicken, like sweet potato, little vegetable, like call it a day. But I can appreciate, especially for cultural events, that you're basically making it feel like home for them in a big way. Or if they're, I don't know, multicultural and they have couples that haven't experienced that before, they're wanting to almost like, hey, here's our roots, introduce them, right? To almost like an extension of them, like a little peek behind the curtain of like, here's my upbringing, here's my heritage, here's my roots. And quite frankly, I think as like, you've got new generations coming in, like millennials and Gen Zs and things like that, it's like almost like the true ways that they can even bring their background and their culture into their weddings is through the culinary.
So if you see me, I always ask you, when you give me someone's information, I ask, the first question is, what is their background? Which part, So we go into very details.
Oh yeah, I know.
Minute details.
Do you remember the first wedding we ever worked together? It was in Bonita Springs.
Right. 500,
and you were like
600 people.
You were the first caterer that I ever saw that did like a tali plate on like a banana leaf.
I didn't even tell the family. I had 45 servers dressed up traditional. It was a surprise to the family.
It was a surprise to me.
I had them bring the whole the whole outfit.
Yeah.
And I changed the whole lunch experience.
It was incredible. Like even the layout. Even the layout. It was like, we're expecting we're going to walk in and see a table.
And the directors and the hotels are like, oh, Soye, what is this? Now they want me.
Yeah.
After all that, they tell me, we want you only. We don't want anyone else in this property.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
And it's so cool.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? I love my clients. I love my families. I love the bride. I love the grooms. And they don't know, but, I just... do all this because after talking to them, after listening to them for months and months, I have an understanding of what their expectations are, what what excites them, and their families and their friends.
Yeah, I mean 100%, because it's like, as we've been in business longer, I also take like less clients a year because I'm doing more with those particular clients. It's like my bandwidth is only so much, but it's really great to see like that other wedding we worked, earlier this year was like the brother of the sister who we did that first time. It became like full circle. It was really.
For me, it's always like this. It's having no's. I have brides take my phone and create a social media post.
Oh, I know.
That's one of your clients, I think, right?
Trust me, I have definitely been the person that's like, we're going to do this. I love it. In terms of, scaling with large events and things to that end, do you feel like when couples come to you, and obviously you're in the beginning stages, but where they're hosting their wedding.
Right.
You clearly have either worked there before or some degree. Are you sort of... I feel like you're very vocal with us, but are you vocal obviously with the client in terms of like, hey, like this is a great property. This is the type of menu or the service style that's going to be best suited for this particular location?
Before I was like very brutal with the parents.
You've gotten
I'll be like no. Every 99% is no. like everything is a no, no, I can't do this. This can't be done.
Right.
And then they call other caterers. They're like, yes, hanji, hanji, hanji. Everything is a yes, right? So is everything is a no.
I hate that, by the way. I'm not a big yes. Like if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
say yes too much, I'm like something's
I
wrong.
don't know. That's been my style. I just say no. So and they would ask me, but recently it's the brides, grooms kind of call me, talk to me. So and they're very they are in they know quite a bit, and so I tell them, this is what we can do, this is what we cannot do, this is what my suggestions are. And if they go totally off bounds, and I'll say, I don't recommend that, this is the way to do. If they want food dancing on the plate, I will say I can create that, but this is that the budget calls for it. Yes, I tell my clients I can literally have food dancing on the plate, no problem. No, no issues. As long as you have the budget, I
Yeah.
can make it.
Yeah.
I can make it
Yeah.
happen. Yes.
I will say what's interesting about couples, and I think that, just to what you were speaking about, is couples are coming to the table a lot more educated. Not saying that they weren't educated before, but it's
Yes.
like they're a lot more
Huge
involved.
blessing. Huge
They're a
blessing.
lot more involved. And so
Yes,
it's like,
yes.
because you're involved, the conversation can evolve, right? And you
right.
can create something very unique and different
Yeah,
for
yeah,
families that otherwise might have been a no before.
Yeah, yes. And
Right.
the that is the reason why this plated dinners are trending now, and the live stations are trending, and the fusion is trending. Fusion is a big part of our production now, right? Everything. Oh, another thing, why would families want to do this? I'm totally lost. They have a amazing set of live stations, Indian food, right? South Asian food, fusion, amazing. And then on the other side, they will say, oh, like these days, a lot of our weddings are, at least the ones, I'm sure, we create the families are multicultural, means they are from here, either the bride is from here or the groom is from here, and the bride or the other part is Indian origin, so Indian and non-Indian, right? And they will say, so, and this is Indian families will tell me, so we want to create, we want to make sure you have maybe a pasta station or a
Why do you always
carving.
think white people like only pasta?
I
Or
know.
Italian food? It's like we like other stuff.
Like something we have, and
Something that they'll eat.
but the funny, like I give them like, and they will sometimes they will say, oh, the property is doing this, and then I give them no break on the
Yeah.
pricing, and they're
Right.
like, why?
Right.
Why is that? Because the guests who come there, they only want the damn Indian food. They only want
Yeah,
the,
I
all
know.
the non-Indians. Everybody wants. That's one thing. And secondly, once you start with Indian food, it's like a bad wine, good wine experience. You don't want to start with bad whiskey, or you want to start with the best single malt,
And then work your way down.
work your way down. You don't want, but you don't want to do the other way. Now, when you start with Indian food, your palate is done. There's nothing more. That palate cannot. There isn't anything else that can excite the palate as much as the Indian food, right? After that, you can have Chateaubriand. You can have the best filet. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So if you want that, you do that first.
But what do you say to them if they're like, well, we got about 50 white people and they eat bland food, or they're not gonna like? What do you say to that?
No, you tell them, listen, I guarantee you, trust me. We are at their best interest. We will only do what is good for the families, right? No matter, that's the ultimate goal, right? And we tell them, listen, whatever we do, there is enough items that we can modernize, we can fusionize in order, and we'll make sure the guest will have a wonderful experience. And if they want to have one or two items, zero spice, we still can do that without making it spicy. I guarantee you, all the guests who are coming at the wedding, they are all there for that South Asian experience, guaranteed.
Yeah.
It's a total waste of money, time, and effort to do something outside of it because it doesn't pay. I have seen, I tell you this, we were doing 11, I think it was 900 or 1100 people at the large property in Collins Avenue. It was a big corporate event, right? So we had, I think it's 900 people. We had breakfast, 900 lunch, 900 dinner. And on the fourth day, the final day, it's huge theme, right? They have French, Italian, and out of this 900, 800 were Indians, right? And then 100 non-Indians, right? So Italian, French, country, and huge Indian, right? All this. I went and told the chef, the executive chef, I told him, listen, I'm going to save you $75,000. He says, what? Tell me how, just for this. He said, see this menu? Don't do it. I told him, don't do it. He says, why? All this food is going to go wasted. He says, why? I tell you, that's what's going to happen. I know the people. I know the clients. I know exactly what's going to eat. Guess what? He didn't listen to me. He's too scared to listen to me, right? He's too scared. I mean, it's one of the largest property, it's, too much at stake, right? And it's a huge, multi-billion company, right? Never in my life I have seen so much food wasted as that. Never, never. Carts and carts and carts and carts of food never touched. Never touched. So that's what I said, how much time you have in the beginning when you started.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you have a lot of other examples. I will say I have an example briefly of where we did a wedding. And anytime, it's so funny because the pasta station always comes up for us white folks. But that pasta station, we did a wedding in Kentucky. And we had, it was a multicultural fusion wedding. And 100% that it was like barely touched.
Of course not. No.
And we but the challenge is, again, keep your counts in mind for couples out there. If you're submitting your counts to your South Asian caterer, you almost need it to be for the full guest count. You can't like deduct those 50, like banking that they're just going to eat that pasta.
Never.
9 times out of 10, they're there for also part of your guest experience is the culinary experience that you're providing. And if you spent so many months curating this South Asian beautiful menu and you think they're not going to try it, you're crazy.
And also, you see, our live stations are pretty colorful, right? In theme with, whatever the bride wants, the theme, right? So our stations are very inviting. There's no way that they're going to go into those stations to begin with. There's nothing exciting there for them. And also, when we do fusions, like we do many Italian, but it's Indian Italian or South Asian Italian flavoring. That's how it is done. It's not just just plain
like marinara.
No. Just Alfredo and marinara. That's not how it is.
Do you cook for yourself at home, Soy, or are you pretty like I'm not going to eat anything?
I don't.
No.
I very little. Smoothies. Yeah.
Smoothies.
and if very I like sometimes some here and there, but mostly I have good connections. You see.
Yeah. You're taken care of.
Yeah.
You're taken care of.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously I can't keep you all day, but I do have a couple other minor questions that come up a lot that I just want to get your take on. So the hospitality room,
right?
Comes up a lot.
Yes.
And as a planner, I sometimes I'm like, ugh, with the hospitality room because you have this beautiful culinary experience for all of your attendees. You're serving them like lunch and these beautiful gourmet dinners.
Right.
But then there's like this hodgepodge room that basically coffee and tea served, and then you're going to go to Costco and go grab some like dry snacks and you're going to throw it in there, and then you're going to ask the local caterer in town to like drop off like a tinfoil dish. And I understand if maybe it's like just an old school way of doing things, but like, what's your take on that? Because for me, I'm like, guys, we
No,
could
and
do
I, like
better.
in
We could do
my
better.
in whatever I do, there is no one else coming.
Yeah.
We don't entertain that.
You
We
don't
say,
do that anymore?
no, I'm like we don't have someone else come in and then drop off because the you see like a lot
Because
of
people could then otherwise
I
think
think it's
right.
I tell the families like, oh, we want for the breakfast just drop off this couple of packets. I said no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. If anything that um, that need to be
Yeah,
done fresh.
I don't think you've ever done that.
No, we don't do that.
Looking back.
Yeah, we don't, there's no drop off experience from us. We don't drop off anything, unless if they say and drop, but we don't. If their budget is constrained to only to have a drop off, we pick it up. Means we deliver it fresh. We have our staff standing there. We do it. We were at one of the beautiful properties. A couple of months back out in Miami, South Beach, and then this family, they wanted something dropped off for their breakfast, 70 people breakfast. We didn't do that. We didn't do that. We made sure we were there, and I told the hotel that I want this equipment, I want this, and then they're like, oh, the client told us it's just a drop. I said, I cannot do that. I can't do that to the food. I cannot do that to the experience because the only people who know are the parents and no one else. Like, so if you come in there, you're like, what happened to this?
And even from a planner perspective, y'all, it makes like your planning team look like it was an event that they forgot about.
Yes.
It's almost like, hey, hopefully you arrive in the first 20 minutes it's there. Otherwise it's going to be cold and, hopefully you brought paper plates. But I think it's one of those things too that just like, I'm really trying to push families that if you're going to offer a hospitality room, to just do it right.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Because
I always tell them, if you have no plans of doing it right, get gift cards and send it to the rooms. No, they wouldn't need that. Well, if they don't want it to do it right, or don't do it at all.
We've done before where there's almost like a voucher that they get when they check in with their welcome bags and they get with their key cards where it's like, hey, here's $100 credit to the local coffee shop.
Exactly.
Have at it. Go wild.
Yes.
And it gives them that hospitality without you then having to feel like the obligation of hosting like another meal function. Because I get it. I mean, it adds up.
It adds up. Yes. So I think that would. I have suggested that many times to the families. But they will agree to that a week before.
Oh yeah.
The dad gets all panic
because it's some like auntie or uncle like taps them on the shoulder like, what are we doing? That's not going to be sufficient. But I think trust your vendors, trust your caterer, trust your planner, and talk through it, right? Just like with a menu build, like talk through your ideas and quite frankly, you can see Soy's not afraid of like inserting his opinion. You got to have vendors that are going to be authentic with you and are going to be realistic with you and not just say yes all the time.
No. I mean, it doesn't work. And what works is, you're telling them from the beginning on, this is what works best. This doesn't work. This menu works. This menu will work good at this property. This menu does not. This menu works good at this occasion. This does not. And you tell them, and they say if they insist, they want an element of this. Yes, we can create elements of it. But it has to match the weather. It has to match the property. It has to match the guests who are invited. It's a combination of things have to work seemingly and seamlessly to create that amazing experience. It has to all come together.
I really appreciate your time today, Soy. This has been so insightful, and I think it's very helpful for couples. Is there anything like parting words for couples or families that you'd like to share, or just a general you don't know till you know type experience?
There's so much more to talk. So
Part two.
Like I think this is a good start. For them, for the clients, and for your families, and I think it's
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you.